Welcome back to another exciting episode of the show, Control or Be Control podcast designed to help you start thinking differently and take control of your life. And I remain your host, Darlington. Today's guest is Louise Harris. She's an author, editor, and journalist, and the owner of Last Research and Editing, a business she has successfully run for more than 30 years. A graduate of the University of Maryland's College of Journalism, Louise has spent decades helping writers and businesses bring their ideas to life, from editing manuscripts and ghostwriting books to creating web content, press releases, blogs, newsletter, and SEO copy. Her work has appeared in numerous print and online publications. She's also the author of the 1776 series, a historical fiction collection, as well as the Notorious Nick children's chapter books. Whether she's helping clients polish their writing or crafting stories of her own, Louise is passionate about the power of words. Louise, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, thank you so much. So, I hope that was a wonderful introduction, or is there something you'd like to add?
That was a great introduction, and no, there's nothing else I need to add.
All right, thank you. So, let's get into the show proper. Let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us about your background and what inspired your love of writing and journalism?
Okay, my background, I started writing when I was a kid. I used to tell stories about my stuffed animals that I had on the bed. I still have a lot of them. And I've written those stories, and some of them are in the computer. But I never got those published. But I did get a poem published at age 12. So I always knew that I wanted to go into writing. The question was, what kind of writing? And I decided that I wanted to be a journalist because I always wanted to tell people the information that they needed to know. But at the same time, I had a love for fiction, and my grandmother loved her romance. So I wanted to make people happy, like my grandmother was always happy when she was reading romance. So that is why I also write fiction. But for a career, journalism was always going to be my career.
Okay, thank you so much. So, you have owned Last Research and Editing for more than 20 years. What services do you provide, and who are your ideal and typical clients?
Yes, I started Last Research and Editing in 1992. At the time, I was unemployed and I was looking for a job. So I went to the University of Maryland's job board because back then there was no internet, so you couldn't actually search on a computer to find a job. You had to actually try to find one in person. And there was a job position for an editor, but she couldn't hire me full time. So she hired me as a freelance writer. So when I started with her, I was editing her environmental newsletter, State Recycling Laws Update and Recycling Laws International. And then she referred me to other environment newsletter publishers, and magazines, environment magazines. So I was editor for those as well. So what I provide for my service, what I provide for my clients today is the writing and editing that they need depending on their industry. But I adapted my business as technology changed. So I went from newsletters to providing blogs on websites to providing website copy that is not the same as blogs. And then I also started providing email marketing because so many companies want to have their message written in email form. And now I'm doing research using AI because right now I am still learning AI and all its capabilities, and it keeps changing. So I'm doing the simplest that I can do, but I'm not using AI to write because I don't actually agree that that's the right thing to do. So I provide writing and editing and marketing for my clients who are mostly small business owners, entrepreneurs, and people that are at the point where they need publicity, but they don't have money to hire in-house staff. So they come to me and then I do it for them.
Okay, thank you so much. Uh, so the editing and writing space is highly competitive. Do you agree with that?
Yes, it is very competitive, especially with AI right now. And before artificial intelligence became the buzzword and everybody was using it, there was still competition. And what I found was that when I'm honest with the clients, even when I cannot help them, I will tell them I cannot help them. And that resonates with them. So they tend to hire me because I'm honest. The other thing that they tend to hire me for is the fact that I will answer the phone or I'll communicate with them the way they want to be communicated with. So if they want me to text them, I will text them. If they want me to email them, I will email them. If they want me to phone them, I will phone them. And I will answer my phone. And that has kept me different from the competition. But there were times in my 30 years where I was drowning because I couldn't find clients. And then I started networking and meeting business owners at chamber events and things like that. And then I started to get clients. And then someone told me about Upwork, and I built a profile on Upwork, and I started getting clients from Upwork. So I understand the competition, but I've always put myself out there to find a way to get around that competition and to stand out as the best editor that people can buy.
Okay. So that you think that edges you apart from other people in the business.
Yes.
All
I
right.
do
So we
go
have
the
worked on
extra
everything.
mile for my clients.
So you have worked on everything from blogs and press releases to ghostwriting, book editing. What types of projects do you enjoy the most and why?
Well, in the beginning of my career, I was writing whatever anyone wanted. But today, I limit it to the things that I enjoy. And I enjoy blog writing, I enjoy press releases, and I enjoy editing books. Because the press releases, I know how to write a press release that'll be picked up. And I've been doing it that was my first job out of college, was editing press releases. Plus, when I became an editor of an environmental newsletter, I was receiving the press releases. So I knew it from both directions. And so I know how to write one that'll be enticing to an editor. So that's why I stick with press releases. I really enjoy blog writing because I learn something every time I write a blog for a company. And the same with editing manuscripts. Especially if they're nonfiction manuscripts, they're usually in an industry that I don't do. So I learned something about that industry, and it's like taking a class, only I'm doing it through editing the manuscript. So that's why I enjoy editing manuscripts. SEO and website content, they tend to be repetitive, and I don't really like that as much. I'll do it if a client needs it done, but it's not my favorite thing.
Okay. So let's talk about your book. You are also a published author. Tell us about 1717 series and what inspired you to write historical fiction.
Well, technically, they're not historical fiction. It's misleading from the titles, but they're all set in modern day with one exception, which is set in modern day but goes back and forth from the 1776 era to modern day. And the reason I write modern day is, despite my name and my company, Last Research and Editing, I really don't like doing research for novels. So I just like to write what I want to write in my novels, not in the other stuff that I do. Journalism, yeah, I'll do research, and blog writing, I'll do research. But in my novels, I don't really like doing research, and I don't like to worry about anachronisms. So, because like I might say something was around when it wasn't around, and I don't want to have to worry about that. So they're all set in modern day. The title comes about because they're set in Philadelphia. They all have a connection back to the 1776 era and the Revolutionary War. And yeah, every author needs a hook, and that's my hook, 1776 series of books. So what started my passion, as I said earlier, my grandmother would sit on the beach and she would read romance. And when she got to the exciting part, she would start kicking her legs, and everybody knew when she was at that part. But she had so much joy, and I wanted to bring joy to people. So when my sister asked me why I was holding back on writing my novel, and I didn't have an answer for her, then I knew it was going to be the same type of genre that my grandmother loved, because I wanted to bring joy to people. So that's where my passion is. That's why I do it. And I'm working on the 5th one in that series right now.
So we can just say your grandmother inspired your writing 100%.
Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful. Talking about how we can actually get inspiration from anywhere. And in the case of Louise, she got inspiration from her grandmother. So let's talk about the Notorious Nick children's books. I'm sure you didn't get that from your grandmother.
No, that one actually came from my son, because my son Alex has ADHD and a bunch of other stuff. He had a lot of behavior issues when he was a kid. Now that he's an adult, he's grown out of a lot of those behavior issues, and he still has the ADHD, but he knows how to control it. But at the time, we were sitting in the doctor's office, and they had a shelf full of books that were nonfiction that no kid would want to read. And even though there were some that were designed for children, but they weren't really, they were designed for children, but I still don't think children would want to read them. And there was no fiction books that children, like in elementary school, could relate to. And so I felt that I needed to write a story that a 9-year-old who might have ADHD might have a fictional character that he could relate to. And that's why I created the Notorious Nick series. It's about a 9-year-old wizard who has hyperactive magical malady. And they all have weather titles. The first one is Terrifying Tornado, and the second one is Devastating Hurricane. And the reason for that is because my son Alex was into weather, and at age 6, he was reading 6th grade weather books, and he could tell you what the weather was going to be before the person on the news actually told you what the weather was going to be. And he was 9 times out of 10, he was 100% correct. And he still follows the weather. He works for the data risk analysis in a insurance company, but he still follows the weather, like hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff. He still does, even as an adult. Now, it's not just about Alex and his situation, but it was also my other 2 children are in those books as well. my son David had his own issues in school, and my son and my daughter, she was the gifted and talented one, so everybody knew she was always doing her own thing as well. So I had all these challenges, and so the best way to deal with them is to write about them. So, and then the villain of the two books are the superintendent, because I've had, every time Alex went to another school district, I had another superintendent that gave him a hard time. So so that's why the villain is the superintendent, and he comes back every book. So that's where that one came about, and I'm still, as I said, Devastating Hurricane just was released this year in June, and there'll be two more in that series, one about a flood and one about the blizzard, blustery blizzard, but I haven't figured out the plots for those yet. So.
Okay, thank you. That's actually very, very inspiring. I think when people know the backstory of Notorious Nick, it will make them want to actually get their hands on the book. So I think your novels, they have great backstories, wonderful backstories. So we have helped many writers bring their ideas to life. Louise, I think you do a lot of things. You're a journalist, you write, you help also bring their ideas to life as well, and you're an editor. Wow. So what is the biggest mistakes first-time authors make, and how can they avoid them?
There's a couple things that I see all the time. The first one is that they don't make it flow. A book should flow from the beginning and from the very first page all the way to the very last page. It should flow like a river. And often people, especially first-time authors, they are so jumbled in their head that they're putting like everything in their books, and their books are reading very choppy, and that throws a reader off. A reader doesn't want a choppy river. It's just like if you're on a boat and there's choppy seas, you're going to get seasick. So a reader is going to put the book down if the book is all over the place. So that's the first thing that I know I see almost all the time with new authors. And that is usually why they need to hire me, because they don't know how to make it work. And they are looking for an editor, but they're also looking for a coach. So that's when I'm more molding and coaching them on how it should be. The second most common mistake is that people will write their stories as a memoir and expect them to sell. And it's not that memoirs can't sell. It's just that they're very difficult to sell, especially when someone doesn't know who you are. If you're an unknown person who has overcome all these struggles, and so you're writing about your story of overcoming all these struggles, I'm not saying that is not something you should do. You should definitely write about the struggles that you have. It's just the way you write it should reflect the reader, not the person, so that it's more marketable. So if you're writing a memoir, write it more of, for example, if you're having if you overcome cancer, for example, then you can write it in a way that I know other people who are struggling with the same issues that I struggled with. And then it becomes about the reader instead of about themselves. So, and you can sprinkle in your story throughout the book, but it won't be all about you. It'll actually be about the issues that everybody are experiencing, and then the reader can relate to it. And then you also don't want to write in a chronological format. That's another thing that people who are writing their life story tend to do. They start with, well, I was born in 1990, and now I am, and this is what happened, and then this is what happened, and this is what happened. And that is very cumbersome to read. So it's better to actually say, okay, this was the struggle I have had at this particular time. And then later, this is what the struggle was when I was a child. And this was the struggle as after I got married and things like that. So you don't have to write from point A to point B. You can actually mix it up and go back and forth and to make the book flow, because even a memoir is supposed to flow. And although a timeline flows from point A to point B, a book doesn't have to flow from point A to point B. It just has to flow. That was a long-winded way of saying what I said, but I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you, Louise. So, looking ahead, what projects are you currently working on? And where can listeners find your books or connect with you for editing and writing services?
They can always find my editing and marketing and writing services on my website, lastresearchandediting.com. And then the books are available on Amazon, amazon.com/author/Louise Harris. What I'm currently working on, as I said, Notorious Nick and Devastating Hurricane came out in June. So that's my newest book. It's only in electronic form. So if you want that, you have to buy the Kindle version. But I'm at the same time that I was doing that one, I was also writing the 1776 Retreat, which is book number 5 in the 1776 series. And it's all about the 250th anniversary of the United States. So I'm pushing to get it out as soon as possible. One of the things that makes me different as an author versus a writer is that I handwrite my novels and then I type them into the computer. So right now I'm at the stage where I've finished writing it and I'm halfway through the typing, and then I will edit it and I will lay out the book and then get a cover, and then it should be out in Amazon available. So my goal is that the first week in September, that one should be available on Amazon. As for my clients, I am currently working on a business and golf. It's a book about using a golf course or a golf tournament as a business strategy. And I'm also working on a book where the person has a mindset coaching business, but he grew up as a drug addict. His mom was a drug addict, and then he became a drug addict, and he didn't die of overdose, which, having read his book, I'm surprised that he didn't die of overdose. And he managed to get out of that life, and now he's coaching other people how to get out of the addiction and into something positive. So I'm working on that one too. And then I am also doing press releases and blogs for clients as well.
Thank you so much, Louise. Before we wrap up, is there anything that we haven't discussed that you'd like to share with my audience?
No, because I think I just did. One thing that I probably did not mention is I'm willing to assess somebody's writing for free. So if they have a few chapters and they're not sure if it's worthy of continuing, they can send them to me and I will read it and let them know what I think. And then they can decide what they want to do with that information. I also offer a service where if it's an entire manuscript, that one I will still assess it and give them my thoughts, but that one they would have to pay a fee for that. But it's a low fee, and they can decide what to do with my information or not. So that has helped a lot of people figure out what they might need to change on their books. So that's something that your readers might be interested in. And also, anybody that has a question and they don't necessarily want to hire me, they just want a question answered, I'm willing to do that as well. So,
All right. Thank you so much, Louise. Thank you for joining us and sharing your journey as a journalist, editor, entrepreneur, and author. Career is a wonderful reminder that great writing has the power to educate, inspire, and connect people across generations. So, to my audience as well, I really appreciate you guys. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with the writers, entrepreneurs, and book lovers in your life. Thank you, Louise, for coming to my show, and do have a wonderful day.
thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you all for listening. We will see you guys on the next episode. Bye, guys.